I get emotionally stimulated with Raising Cane's. Not gonna lie.
Gave you a new organ, especially that the way he says it. I gave you a new organ. What? Don't put new things in me.
Yeah, it's fixed. Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and talk about it. And today we're going to be talking for the second time already, 2 weeks in a row. We're talking about To Your Eternity, an anime that was chosen out of the chest of many anime here. Some of these are suggested by me or Matt, but then some of them are suggested by you in the audience, and you give a $5 super chat on YouTube or 500 bits on Twitch to get your anime of choice up here, and we talk about it. We rate the anime, we put it on our list. We have a ton of anime we've already done in season 2, and we have so much more to get to, especially the end of To Your Eternity. And I don't go on these anime journeys alone. I go with my co-host Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing really good, aside from all of the, emptiness that I'm feeling after watching these episodes.
They really did it to us, huh? In these episodes, in the first 4 episodes, I was like, okay, here's the concept, and then they just keep on doing it. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know if I was ready for that.
I don't know if I was ready for it either.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it, but it's definitely like, similar to last week. It's just, I really, especially given this week, we have 5 episodes to talk about, not 4. So we have a lot to go over, but I really just feel like this anime deserves to be like looked at and unpacked way more than we're going to be doing here, similar to how I said last week, where we're going to be mostly here talking about it on terms of like how does it perform as a
show amongst other shows to choose from.
a piece of entertainment for us to enjoy and watch. But there's just a lot of concepts, a lot of themes in this show that are just very, very heavy. And initially, like, again, with the first set of episodes, they're talking about like, oh, child sacrifice, this and that, and I'm like, oh, we're watching a show. They're not actually gonna kill a kid, are they? No, they're not. And then we watch these 5 episodes, so
technically
we're at.
I mean, the first death, the boy, he was a kid, but they never really explicitly, and they were like, you know what, let's just go for one younger, and let's just make you hurt a little bit.
We're gonna now that the knife is in, now we're gonna twist it.
Oh, y'all were fine with that? Okay, here we go. Let's just do that. Hello, everybody watching live on YouTube or Twitch. Hello, Claire. You said, can you prove you're human, not a human alien or dog or beer? I am the orb. I am the orb.
Jules the orb.
That is taking everybody's lives and assimilating. And here's some fruit. Poop. Like Matt said, we have 5 episodes to get to, so we got to keep going. We got to get talking about it. And there's a real lot here because there's a lot to discuss in these episodes. So what happens To Your Eternity, episode 5, Those Who Follow.
Perona frees Fushi, March, and the old lady from their cells and has everyone make their way for the sewers. March protests as Perona attempts to take the hide from Oniguma and convinces Perona that she can convince the village another way. During their escape, March declares how she and Fushi will grow up with each other until March jumps in the way of an arrow targeted for Perona. Fushi turns into bear form and wreaks havoc on the town while Perona grieves the loss of March. Fushi stops Perona from taking her own life as she loses all hope, and Fushi shows a hint of emotion along with this. Fushi takes Perona back to her village where she gives March's parents the handprint letter before sending Fushi back into the wilderness in order to avoid capture. Peroni stops them from wounding Fushi, and the orb once again takes a new form in its travels.
Oh my god, they just did it to us here.
Yep.
So first off, whenever they're escaping here, we're kind of coming back to where we left off in episode 4. Hey, we're gonna escape, we're getting out of here. I thought they were escaping, like I thought it was like, wait, this is all too good to be true. They were just like, we're out of here,
Mhm.
We got the horses,
Especially
the
like when it
carriage.
showed the shot of them just like ramming the carriage out of the doors. I was like, that's just too easy. Like they're
Yeah,
being loud about this. Like, come on.
I definitely thought it had me going for a little bit where I was like, okay, this is the end of this storyline. We got to get to the next one. And I was like, okay, like it was going to be another anime trope thing where I'm like, we got to skip to the next arc, so we're going to just get out of it. And it's like, okay, that's fine. They taught us about
Without any
marches
consequences.
without any consequences. They taught us about marches, like empathy and stuff with the with Oniguma, and I was like, okay, cool. That's what that was supposed to be. But then no, everybody's chasing behind. They got the fire going. They lit them on fire. They were like throwing arrows and stuff. um Fushi is hearing that March wants to learn everything. So some information that he got was that she wants to learn she wants to be learn all the things and gather a bunch of information. So like essentially we think, or we're led to think, that possibly that's what he wants to do now. He wants to learn stuff. So they're being chased, and I I didn't think they were going to do this because I felt it when it's that anime thing where everything's going so well and March is just monologuing a little bit in the back with everybody, and she's talking about how it's going to be great. I'm going to grow up and do all this.
Yep.
Like usually in that point I'm like, okay, somebody's going to die.
Yep.
But here I was like, March isn't going to die. Like, no, she won't, because yeah, it's just a kid and it's
But
fine.
then she starts realizing the gravity of the situation that they're in and comes crashing back down from all of those high hopes and aspirations and is in the moment. And instead of thinking about the, what is to happen in the future, she's thinking about what can I do right now to help, because my sissy is in trouble and I need to do something. And she's like, I need to do
uh
something. Can I do anything? There's something I can do, as she's seeing the arrow being fired at Perona.
and man, Fushi March gets shot. Fushi turns into Onigiri, goes crazy on the whole town. It's insanely emotional. We get flashbacks to March meeting Perona for the first time. Um, March says, "Become a mommy for me." They're so like, and it's so good too. Though, like, I'm mad, but I'm also like, this is really good. Like, this
Mhm,
is some good emotional beats because the
mhm.
music is like insane. As soon as she's like whatever, it's like sweeping music. I'm like, oh, I'm in it, and they took me along
And
for the
the
ride.
and the whole thing of March getting in the ether wherever her spirit resides in that moment, and it's like she's like, wait, this isn't like real life. What's going on? And then like comes to the reality of the situation around her. Like that whole concept and idea was very emotional as well.
And I
Not
did
just the
love,
death, like just the way that it handles the representation of her life after death,
yeah,
even though we don't only get a short amount of it.
and I like that they didn't have to explain it because whatever it is it real? Is it a concept of whatever? I don't know. I don't think we need to know, but I liked that they had Onigiri there because we're like, okay, he's dead, yeah. And then just her seeing that, and this whole scene, Perona is just gonna do it in front of like March's spirit. Um, it was really emotional. Like March crying out, like, what was this episode? It was just a lot. I'm
It was a
like,
lot.
oh my.
It was really good. Like, like don't let me think that the emotional impact is me saying that I didn't enjoy it. It's just emotionally weighty.
A lot,
It's
even
really good.
down to them finally going back to the village, and Perona gives the letter to her parents of just the hand, and it's like, just stop, please. We're already dead. Well, March is
Yes,
already dead,
March is great.
but yeah, it's just a lot. Um, even down to the moment, this was just a great episode. I think, like, what's her name, Hayabusa, or I think that's her name.
I'm forgetting her name.
But her looking so crazed and just like, I need to get to him, and Perona just being like, no, we need to help him out. It's just so much emotion in this one episode. Even though it's like 20 minutes long, it felt so much longer. Like, it felt like 45 minutes. Like, I can't believe, all now that we're recapping it, I'm like, all of this stuff, all this emotional stuff that I remember is just in one episode. Were you hooked to these characters already,
I
or do you
mean,
think?
yeah, I mean, March definitely. Perona, I don't think I was until the moment where she was like, "No, March, you don't understand because you're just a kid." And then like March gave her that like deadpan stare. And she was like, "Don't look at me like that." And I think like something in her in that moment, like as she said those words, she was like, "Wait, like, am I just becoming what like am I really going to like discredit everything that March has been through right now and discredit me when and my friend when we were kids that we didn't understand what was going on? Like we as kids can understand concepts of like life and death and morality. And so if a kid's standing you telling you something's moralistically wrong, the kid is probably in the right because kids are very honest. And I think there's something about her that like kind of realized, it the if you live long enough, you become the enemy type deal, so she's like, I've lived long enough. I need to not become bitter, and I need to embrace March for this idea because
Yeah.
she was being moved by her guilt, of the past and what's happened before to her friend, and that's why she
Mhm.
wants to take Oniguma's hide, essentially is not really to save the kids going forward, but to save herself from her own guilt. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah.
But March in that moment, since she didn't lose somebody else and she's gone through these trials and tribulations that she has this different like outlook that Perona never really got to have because she didn't go through the same thing that March went through because she had somebody protect March. She tried to protect March, but they eventually got captured and stuff anyways. It was really Fushi's intervention that saved March from
Mhm.
becoming a sacrifice. So I like to round back to the original question. Like I really like March as this a catalyst for change now, not only for Fushi but also for Perona and her whole village. Kind of, you know, showing Perona that we don't need to solve everything through, more violence. Essentially, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
The bear is dead. It wasn't the bear's fault in the first place for any of this happening. So why should it for this? Even if
Yeah. And March was even like, I think she was, if I'm remembering correctly, she was like, I want to learn how to read and write, and maybe our village can have our own language, or our own way of writing. Like, she was like wanting to think in that, like, not even thinking about violent means, or getting back at anybody or anything like that. Claire says, I enjoyed it as an episode, but it completely killed my interest in anything beyond it. That's interesting. I might, you know, see that, because like, they presented the idea that, hey, you're gonna get close to characters and they're gonna die. And then you're like, okay, that's fine, a concept. But then they're like, no, really, they're gonna die. And then we're consistently confronted with this. And the way I'm thinking that you mean is that you're like, I don't know if I want to put myself through this. Like, I don't know if I want to keep going. I don't know if I want to keep losing characters,
there's that,
even
and
though this is good.
there's the concept of that, and there's could also be the concept of just fatigue, and that you want to sometimes people just want to watch something where you get to know the characters over the course of the series and they grow and become better. But again, like I when we were talking about the episodes last week, along the way somewhere I was saying where like I feel like the show's kind of bread and butter is going to be Fushi going like just walking in a straight line, going to new places, seeing new people, and they're all going to kind of leave a mark on him in a way that makes him grow as a person. And it continues through these next episodes that we watch to kind of build on that concept. So even though emotionally I'm wrecked at the end of this episode, I'm still sold on I want to see the end result of whatever it is that Fushi is going to become, because beyond the, the anime itself, we with Fushi, you have a lot of conversation to the concept of, whoa, it's losing I'm losing it right now.
Life,
Concept
purpose.
of nature versus nurture. That's where I was going,
Okay, yeah,
because
that's another one.
he's being molded by the interactions of the people around him, but we see how, like, when he's in the hands of these like greater powers, like they immediately are like, how can we use him as a weapon?
Yeah. Hello, Joker. Hello, we're on YouTube. How are you doing? We're doing a podcast about To Your Eternity. Claire said, I've just got no interest in the orb, and they just dumped the entire rest of the cast. I watched a few episodes beyond it, but it went nowhere slowly, and I just stopped making time for it at that point. Gotcha. Understood. Um, episode 6, our goal. Or our goals. What happens in episode 6?
Sorry, my
Can you hear me?
another browser was giving me audio. Sorry.
Oh.
Next episode, sorry. So Fushi wanders the forest until he happens across a familiar scent, the old lady that they escaped the prison with. She introduces herself to Fushi as Pioran and begins to teach him the foundations of reading, writing, speaking, and being a human being. She takes Fushi with her to her country of origin, Takunaha, where Fushi is ambushed by some sort of plant enemy. It attempts to take Fushi's form, then a voice calls out to Fushi, telling him to attack the plant. Fushi is barely able to defeat the plant before the voice claims to be Fushi's creator. Pioran arrives at their destination with Fushi as a gift to her intellectual lover.
It's funny thinking back how she described him, and now that we know him, and I'm just like, okay, guys, Jesus.
My lover's an intellectual.
I mean, you can make beer. Not everybody makes beer, I guess.
Booze
So
man.
is this a horror anime? No, it's a love story. You definitely should watch it. It's great. That's what I thought it was. So he can take on March's form now after she's dead and meets up with Piorin, who is the older lady. This one we can kind of go fast over. This is sort of set up for the next couple ones.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you said, teaches how to read and write. Fushi, this was an interesting thing. Fushi is actually telling stories of his past, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool!" Like, it is kind of cool to see this person or this thing evolve into and being there for his stories and knowing what he's referencing, and him going back to his other forms, and it's like, I remember that one. Like, I remember that story with that. Man, this is crazy,
If anything, it makes the series feel like it has a very strong continuity, at least for me.
Yeah, definitely. And later on in the other episodes, they kind of explain some things about what he actually does, what he's actually able to do, possibly. So I really like that. Cosmos up here was that Galley and Poppy Jules to make me feels over anime. Well, you just missed the little kid dying, so hopefully not too many feels. Damn, Jules looking all tanned. I am tanned. I am Mexican. Um so we get this forest creature. At first, I didn't know if the hooded creature was like controlling it, whether
Mhm.
it's like a witch or some kind. But really, here's the introduction. I know we have an orb that is immortal and all this stuff, but like now's the supernatural bit. And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, what is this? And that sort of piqued my interest as well. Well, I agree with Claire, it is a little slow because I really want to know, and I know there's a season 2.
Yeah.
But like,
Knowing that this one doesn't end at episode like 12 or 13, like, and considering again the type of story that I felt like it was going for, like I was kind of in a headspace that we were gonna really probably either focus in on one little thing, but it quickly went away from that. So it was like, oh, then it's just gonna be like all of these rotating things that were like a revolving door, which immediately, like, I don't immediately cling to the concept of because of what we talked about before. But again, yeah, I just feel like the way it's able to string together the continuity and the way the world building kind of coincides with the story, as the story needs a bigger world to tell its story. It doesn't do the whole, like, you're starting off and it's like, oh, these are the nations of such and such, and here's the village of such and such in the
Yeah.
nation, and then this is what's happened. It doesn't bog you down with any of that. It's like, this is the core of the story, and it builds like stuff around it as it needs those elements, and it doesn't make it feel like again, it doesn't make it feel like there's any like wasted time for me. It's always kind of whatever's happening is for the sake of the narrative and to move the story forward.
Damn, just call out the last Avatar, why don't you? Oof. Joker says love stories, romance, why great stories, always love story. I was just kidding about the love story. It is definitely not a love story. So the black robed man is helping Fushi. He has to fight as March because they're taking his forms, which is kind of crazy. Like, they're taking his, and he can't even like remember what he's forgotten, which is interesting. It's almost like this thing is made to go against him and knows how they were going to adapt, and is there the heel. I don't know what the yin and yang sort of there. I was wishing in this moment, I'm gonna keep rooting for it. I really wanted him to turn into a rock again. I was really waiting for Rock to make a comeback.
I forgot Rock is something we even did, honestly.
Rock is everything. Rock is life. I was like, come on, Rock. Just like, boom, just fall on him. That's the one form he didn't bring back.
Credits.
Yeah. Kind of mad. That's the one I've stuck to. I've already made a connection.
So funny. That'd be such a funny.
It's gonna make a comeback somewhere. It's coming at some point. He is gonna be
not the Kirby Rock.
Not literally the Kirby Rock. His first form was Rock, and then he became a wolf. Then became in person. Whatever. He can change at will. I want to turn to Rock. You're everything. You're everything to me. So he meets his maker, and his maker says the objective is to preserve this world, and the forest being was sent to undo Fushi. And he says, see you at the end. And then they go off to their house to meet some other interesting characters. We got 3 more episodes to go. Episode 7, The Boy Who Wants to Change. What happens in episode 7?
We see the story of 2 brothers trying to escape their life of poverty. Gugu, the younger brother, seems content with his life, trying to make it big with his older brother. One day, when selling veggies, Gugu returns a dog to the girl that he has a crush on, with her giving him a gold ring as thanks. Gugu returns home excited to tell his brother, but he is gone along with their savings. Gugu wanders depressed as a freak accident prompts him to rush into action, saving the same girl from the market. He would be left crushed by a log on his head. Upon regaining consciousness, Gugu realizes his face has become disfigured by the accident. However, he has been saved by the man who owns the mansion he envied so much, now given a chance to live within its walls. Fushi and Gugu become close very quickly, as Gugu feels a closeness to him, standing up for him though he was a human being. One day, while working the shop, Gugu is approached by the girl, introducing herself as Reen. Keeping the secret from Reen about the accident, Gugu is left heartbroken as she seems to have a crush on Fushi's human form.
What the fuck? The little brother's face looks like a potato. Bro, I love this one. Where is it? I was dying when his face.
Was dead.
I mean, yeah, he was dying.
But it's like, it's just like, this, if you are paying attention, that's the same kid because of the pants, yada yada. But like, bro, I thought he was dead. I was like, oh,
freak accident, a log's rolling down, he saves the girl, and it just is crushing his head, and it's insane. And I was like, oh.
Like,
and he stayed there.
No resistance, nothing.
No,
he just accepted it.
He monologued a little bit there.
I think he thought he was dead.
I liked this sort of thing. I liked this thing where they showed the character get introduced, and he's like,
And that's me.
NIU.
You
Yeah.
probably wonder how I got myself into that situation.
Hey, that's me.
No.
Well, a week ago I saved a girl from yeah. It's crazy. But
Imagine if they
I
started the anime with that. It'd be
oh, that'd be
very
great.
Zombieland Saga coded. Like if we started with this
Boom.
episode.
Just doom. Yeah. Obito. Ooh, that reminds me of Obito. Um, I like this
Oh, some
where
Obito. That's yes. It's very
uh
Obito coded.
where they showed the character at the very end of the last episode, and he's like, "Oh, look, an immortal being, whatever," and we're like, "What the fuck?" And then it goes back, and then it's like, "Okay, here's this kid." I didn't even understand it. I was just like, "We're gonna get this random story of a kid and his brother." I'm like, "Okay, let's go along with it." And then it ends up being the kid in the shop, and I was like, "Yo, this is so cool." So we get Shin and Gugu, brothers that don't are down on their luck, but Gugu seems to be a little bit more happy about it than his brother, and um his brother sort of betrays him a little bit. He has some new friends, possibly not the greatest people, and he just steals their savings and is just like, I'm out of here. Boop. You go figure it out, I guess. I don't know. Um
There's this little thing called fate, and I've decided to fight against it. I'm taking all our money. Peace out.
whatever, bro. What does that mean? You're gonna go get drunk every day? Okay. Be fake deep, I guess. I gotta go fight against my life. I'm not living here. I'm gonna go against the grain.
I mean, that immediately for me at least, like I root for Gugu at that point,
Yeah,
because we've all, I mean, I feel like everybody's been in a situation where they've thought they've known somebody, and turns out, oh, this person wasn't really who they were, and now I'm left in off worse because of it. So
the
it's
thief
it's
is.
immediately relatable, and it's something that you can hang your hat on for this character, even
Mhm.
though it's trying to get you on board for him really quick, and already like it's like, okay, like I'm on his side, and then log, and then I'm
And
like,
then law.
oh, and then he wakes up,
Boop.
and I'm like, oh. And he's
Joker
got
said,
this weird, like, bulge in his belly too, just to throw something else on top. And I'm just like, what the heck,
"Oh,
man? What's up with the bulge? Like, why has
yeah."
he got a bulgy belly?
I just thought he fed him a lot, or like I thought that was supposed to be
He
like the
never asked
passing of
about it.
time.
Yeah,
I thought it was
something.
just like a lot of time has passed, so he got big because they were just feeding him a bunch. The thief is always related to the bloodline. It's always in the house. Somebody's in the house. Now y'all revealing my trauma. I can't. That scene. It's so good. This scene is great.
It's just
It's
it's very punctual, because as that happens, we see him push the girl out of the way, and you hear a bunch of people like, oh my god, is she okay? She's conscious. Oh my god, everybody help her. And he's just down there with a log on his head.
yeah, and nobody
So
cares about him.
it's punctuated by the fact that everybody's rushing to help this girl, whose wound we see later on, to even call back even more insult to injury on that scene, in
I
my
fucking hate
opinion.
Reen. Yeah,
she's
I
just
hated that
she's
part.
just a girl.
We'll talk about it. Whatever. But then Google goes into uh a lot of introspection here, and another thing where it gets relatable because he's left to fend for himself, and he's asking a lot of questions like, why am I me? What did I do? How do I get out? Like, what it was like a lot of
Mhm.
I feel like there's a lot of conversations that can happen about his sort of monologue that I don't think we have the time for, but it's just like a lot of like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I get here in my life? Like, is there something that I did wrong? Is there something I could be doing better? And it's just like really looking into himself, and he's such a little kid, and it's just like, oh man, it's a lot. Just woke up from a nap, and where my face gone? Literally, he wakes up, and yeah, his face is gone. He saves the girl in the green, who is Reen, and he gets crushed by the log. The village old guy saves him, the one that we saw a little bit earlier.
Booze
This
man.
dork, and then wait, am I on the right episode? So we find out that the boy is the Gugu is the one in the mask. And some question that I had in last episode gets a little bit cleared up in this one, because he instantly is like, Fushi, let me help you out. Let's go wash up and stuff. And then he's trying to take off Fushi's clothes so that they can wash. And then he's talking about how he's like, the clothes are sort of attached to you, because that was a question I had last time. I was like, if he spawns with his clothes, aren't his clothes a part of him? So then how can he live? But then he just peels them off of him,
Mm-hmm.
and then they become their own.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's like an infinite money machine, sort of. Where it's
Yeah, I
just,
mean, as we start to see later, yeah,
so
that
that's when
idea becomes more and more prevalent for sure.
they just instantly like answer. I was like, oh, they touched on it. I was like, that's a question I had. I was like, how does, if it's a part of him and he spawns in that way, but then he takes it off, that's a part of him though. But crazy. Gugu is a little weirdly attached to Fushi, kind of a little bit obsessed, a little bit. Reen comes into the shop, and Reen ends up liking Fushi. How do you feel about the little bits of classic anime funny stuff here? They got the little chibi characters, they got the little hard eyes for him, and
Mhm.
they really leaned into it into this scene. And
Yeah,
I
in
gotta
this
say, I really
episode,
enjoyed
and
it.
it's like, I mean, again, like I feel like knowing the length that this show has, I'm totally okay with like hitting these like emotional high points and then kind of like having a reset of sorts. And these past two episodes feel like a reset in a lot of ways. The last episode has a little bit of action, but um I mean, I guess not a little bit, but there's quite a bit of action with the whole plant scene that takes up a sizable amount of it. But it doesn't really feel like the stakes have that much longevity, which we find out is wrong later on. But it feels like a reset with these two episodes where it's just kind of like, again, trying to introduce you to this new cast of characters and get you on board with the fact that, now these next few episodes is going to be about these guys. And it's like, again, the environments and the destinations where you keep going to, they're getting a little bit more nuanced every time, for the sake of Fushi's development. And I think it's really nice that at this point where we now know he can read somewhat, write somewhat, he can form sentences and tell stories. Let's give him a little bit of a little bit of a base to just kind of like settle into and just make himself feel home at for a while before we probably push him off in another direction again.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I don't like all the humans that he's with. We'll talk about it, but it's a good little home base, like you said. Cosmo said, "Friends, how's life treating ya?" Where did it go? Boop. Rip potato face. His face looks like a smashed potato. It does. um, yeah, that's pretty much all that happens in the episode.
Yep.
Yeah. Episode 8, Monster Brothers. What happens in episode 8?
Reen returns looking for a job at the booze house, and Gugu is initially apprehensive to the idea, but warms up to it quickly, wanting to help her out with her scar. The booze man reveals a terrifying secret, though. He put a case of liquor inside of Gugu out of curiosity. Gugu runs away, and no one goes after him. He tries to reacclimate to his old life, but is marred and outcast due to the mask that he wears. And when he shows his face, things go no better. Fushi wants Pioran to help him learn to take over Gugu's tasks, but she declares she won't baby him because he needs to become a human fast. Gugu is ridiculed by his boss's son and gives Reen's ring to his brother, who he finds in an alley. Fushi comes to save Gugu just as he's being kidnapped to be possibly sold to some sort of freak circus.
Hooray
Hooray for monsters.
Yay, Monster Brothers. I really like that Reen is just here just because. I mean, we know why, but like, I like that Reen was just like, I want to work at the shop. And guy's like, Yeah, okay, whatever. That's fine.
Well, she's like, I don't want pay. I don't want this. I don't want that. I just want a place to stay. Just let me sleep here.
We
It's
got
like,
extra rooms.
sure.
Oh, okay. Another cook in the kitchen. Why not? She's gonna live at the shop, and we get some interesting clarification as well in this episode about Fushi's abilities. He can make things he's felt before, or the way I did it at first was the way he can make things that he's felt before, or something that's injured him. But then they kind of explain that it's tied to his grief, I guess, or his stimulation, either physical, but then we get emotional as well, because people have died before, and then he takes on their thing, and it's easier for him to get those turn into somebody. But he was just spawning in things, and I'm like, whoa, this is really cool, but in the wrong hands and in a different upbringing, like you were saying, nature versus nurture, this could be very bad. But we'll see, I suppose. Gugu has an organ inside of him full of alcohol in it. What was this though? Like what
He just, he's just like, I've got just the thing. Conk.
yeah.
Pulls a cork out of the dude's face.
Yeah, literally just milking the man.
Lingers on the shot, and I'm just like, what's going on? Are we gonna acknowledge it? And then he finally nervously asks, he's just like, what's that?
Yeah.
Liquor.
Like
booze. I put liquor in you because I want to know what happens when you do that to a human. But he
I don't like
runs away.
I don't like him. And everybody's kind of okay with it.
I don't like him as a character or think that I would get along with him, but I think he's a very interesting vessel to allow the story to continue moving in interesting directions.
Cosmo says, I love the chameleon helmet. And Joke says, why does this helmet look like a night warrior, but this time a man Argenti looks better? Potato, I do I do like his little mask. It is cute. I wouldn't mind.
I like how it emotes with him. Because
it does emote.
Like, I felt like, oh, we're not gonna, get to see the character anymore. But then it starts like, doing the hard eyes on it, and its mouth like sometimes opens when he's like joking around and stuff. So
it's really good.
I like how it's still able to characterize him through the helmet.
Animatized, where it's just like doing things like, okay, that's cool, whatever. But Gugu runs away, which is fine, which is understandable. Like, bro, fucking put alcohol. This is my belt. That's what the belly was. He put a sack of alcohol in me, and is just cool with it. And he just uncorked me, and here we are.
He gave you a new organ, especially the way he says it. I gave you a new organ.
Yeah.
What? Don't put new things in me.
Yeah, fix. I don't know. We don't even know what he really did to his face, do we? It's just that he kept him alive. Right? He didn't really do anything to his face.
He didn't do anything to his face, I don't think. He just kind of like, resuscitated him.
He resuscitated him, and then he was like, well, I got somebody unconscious here. That's fucked up.
I was planning on doing this at some point anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up. And it's a kid.
Kind of messed up. Yeah, it's really messed up. I don't think he's a morally correct character.
No. I know you don't. But it was just like, in the moment, like, he was just so chill about it. He was like, yeah, I did this. And then it's like, it made me mad. I was like, bro, what the fuck? That's not okay.
I think that's how we all want to. We're all supposed to feel. That's how we're supposed to feel. Yeah, because we want him to feel like he has a reason to run away from this place that he always wanted to be in. Like he was saying, I gave up my old life to be here. Essentially, that's how he sees it. And then,
yeah, literally cute. No, creepy. Yes, I see a running away thing. Definitely. He tries to stay with his old employer. And what do you think about this whole story? I mean, there's a lot we can get into about how people don't accept somebody that's different. If people look a little different than, how you quote unquote supposed to look like, people just call you a freak and they don't accept you. And they're doing it in such a blatant way, and with a kid. And it's just like, uh, I don't know what commentary it's on. Is it commentary on society? But like, still, even this society is not as developed as our society right now.
Hmm.
But is it commentary on that, or just mostly trying to get us behind
I
Gugu
mean,
and his
yeah.
character?
I think there's definitely something to be said on, how society treats individuals that, have been disfigured, disformed, whether or not it's due to personal accidents, whether or not it's due to, people that have like served time in armed services or whatever. But there's definitely something to be said about how society at large treats those people who just have something different about them that sets them apart from what's socially normal, so to speak.
Yeah,
And I think it's also trying to use the character of Gugu to show, like, how somebody who's also physically capable, hardworking, can still fall victim to these types of mentalities where you have people trying to make them the other when they're just another human being. Um and you even have like the you have certain people who are like, trying to reach out and, accept him, be accepting of him. But even when he shows his true face, like his boss still kind of like has a bit of a reaction initially, but then he's just like, hey, I didn't like want that to be a situation that makes you hate us. Like, please come to work tomorrow. He's still reaching out. And it's like good natured people trying to do good things. And I love but hate how his kid comes back and is like, oh, we're not a freak show, stay away. And he's like, I can't believe how you turned out, even though your dad's a good person. And he's like, yeah, my dad is a good person. Now stay away. And it's like, so your dad's a good person and he's trying to do good things, but you're going to actively be something that tries to keep your dad from doing things that he probably wants to do. If you think he's a good person, he's not doing these things because he doesn't want to do it. So that type of, I totally understand where it's coming from and why that energy is there, because it's something that's realistic and it does happen IRL. But still, it's just like, like I guess that situation is the situation for me with your booze man situation and him putting the booze in the kid, where I feel more strongly about hating that idea, even though like I get
and
it, but it's like, oh, it
yeah,
makes me mad and it boils my blood.
yeah, and I think it could also be because, yeah, his dad is good, but everybody in town is like, boy, this boy's a freak. And it could just be like the multitude of people that are just have this one idea that is more impactful to the kid than just his dad
I
trying
would
to
have,
go
yeah, and I
against
would
it.
have bought it if it's like, they should have maybe put forward a situation where like, oh, now nobody wants to work the fields because Gugu's there and he's scaring everybody away. And then maybe the manager, the boss starts to feel like, hey man, I'm really sorry and I'm being put in a really hard situation, but
But
I
everybody
have
seemed
to look
fine.
I have but everybody seemed fine, exactly. But if they did the other, then he could have been like, I'm really sorry, but like I care about you, but I have to look after me and my family because now this situation is putting this at risk, me and my family, and that is what I have
Hmm.
to look after first if I'm going to be a good husband, parent, etc.
I agree. That could have been a little bit better.
But the
All
kid just comes, oh, I don't want you coming near my dad anymore, splashes water on him, like
mhm.
that just ticks me off.
Yeah, definitely. I think with that in the same episode as Piorin uh saying that they won't spoil Fushi because he has to become a human quick, I think it's really just telling in how this story can go with the orb that absorbs information and how humans are and how whether in the end are humans worth saving if it ever came to that, if it was the orb versus outside forces. Hey, you got to learn how to be a human and you got to learn it quick because of all these other things that are not so great about us. And maybe in the end it's going to be like, yo, orb, are you we're going to destroy the world, are these humans worth it? And it's like you got to weigh the good or the good versus the bad. So I like that he and us are being faced with how humans are and him faced with in a smaller scale now, having to learn how to cook, clean, and everything, not being babied a little bit. We got to keep going. We have another episode to talk about. Fushi saves Gugu, and hooray for monsters. Gugu sort of loves himself. Monster bros, whatever you want to call it. They come back together. But then he gets taken away. So episode 9, Deep Memories. What happens in episode 9?
Gugu remains upset at the booze man and refuses to return. Fushi begins making food similar to how he can make objects, as he describes to Fushi. And Gugu describes to Fushi how his upbringing looked with his brother. Rain comes looking for Fushi and Gugu as she doesn't want to babysit the olds. Fushi goes looking for Gugu's mask, leaving the two of them to confide in each other about their childhoods. Reen tells Gugu that she wants to get to know him better, and with that, he decides to go back to the booze house with her, and everything seems to be going well until Fushi is attacked yet again by the plant being.
Oh no. The plant being's back.
The plant is back.
So we learn in this episode here about the whole stimulation, about the more something stimulates Fushi, it's easier that he can spawn it. The stronger the stimulation, the deeper it's engraved in his memory. I'm at university, so I have to leave now. Peace out, man. See you in the next one. See you, Joker. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. He spawned in food finally, and I was like, here we are, the answer to all of life's questions. Free food. Here it is. He creates things also when he's in
Let me
pain.
just pop out a Caniac combo real quick.
Hell yeah, bro. Yo. I get emotionally stimulated with Raising Cane's. Not gonna lie.
Whole cup of cane sauce.
Like, bro, can you spawn a river of cane sauce? I got you, dog. Here we go. I got you. That's all I would do if I was the orb. Hell yeah. I would invent cane sauce. We get backstory on Gugu about him and his life with his brother. Reen shows her wound, and I gotta say, Reen, it was nothing.
I saw that coming a mile away though. I was like, all he did was push her. Like, what's it gotta be? She stayed conscious. Like, what's it gonna be? And then it's just a little scrape. And I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I think this is also I don't know if I'm looking too deep into it. I want things to mean a lot more because I feel like this is a deep show, like underlyingly. But the way that Reen is talking about how, in the juxtaposition between their whole lives together, because they spend a lot of time talking to each other, how Reen is complaining about, in his head, living in a castle and having so many people and having food whenever she wanted to. But in her head, she just felt so cramped, stuck up, that she had no individuality. She wants to be free from everything. And then it shows the small wound that she thinks is a huge deal. That really just exemplifies what it means to be human. Like, the worst thing in your life to happen is the worst thing in your life to happen.
Exactly, yes.
So to her, the scratch that will not go away is the worst thing in her life to happen. So she's treating it the same way as Gugu getting his face ripped off. And it's like, it's really interesting to see these two to come together, and I'm glad they spent a lot of time on it, and it was just really cool.
If he were to have like showed her right away, like the first day she walks into the shop, oh, I saved you and look what happened, pull his mask off, and then eventually we come around to all this, it would feel like it's in bad spirit. But I just feel like because he's been so apprehensive to show her anything, like this is like her way of reaching out to him and being like, it's okay to it's okay to open up to people like this. Like, to me, this is like her attempt at opening up to him, because that's all she wants is for him to open up to her.
Yeah.
She like talks about herself, and then she asks him some questions, and then or talks about herself, and then he just responds with calling her an idiot and stuff
A lot of times.
a lot of times, but she's just trying to, ask him questions, and she's just like, so you're not going to tell me anything. So it's just like, then I'm just going to keep talking about myself, which I think is like endearing again, because she doesn't understand or know that he saved her and that that's the reality of his situation. If he were to have shared everything about what he's been through, his brother leaving, all of that, and then she like tries to make a big deal about the scar and everything,
Then
I
it would
would
be a different
like,
story.
it would be a different story. But I feel like because of the juxtaposition of, like you said, her worst day ever is her worst day ever type deal, it's just like it showed, like, for me it shows how much of a good nature he has, because even when she's telling him about all those things, he still doesn't decide to like trauma dump on
Be
her, feel bad for
Yeah.
me because this is what I go through and you don't have to go through those things. Instead, he's just like, you know what? I don't care about my situation anymore because I've found somebody else who's I care that they care about their situation. And like that's just it's that juxtaposition that's really trying to like drive home his good nature, but it's like it it almost sours it a little bit because of how big of a juxtaposition there is with, like you said,
Yeah.
her having a
The,
little cut and him having his face ripped off.
yeah, and it shows her nature as well, because she does want to connect to him in some way, and does genuinely, I think, care about him, or in some way care about other people. Um, and I do agree that if he were to, say, you think you have it bad, here's all my stuff, she would just go away crying and just be, really sad about it. And it would show that he's not the person we think he is. But
Mhm.
he held it in, like you said, and just said, "Okay, yeah, like I get it. We're not on the same level, and it's not a competition. It's not a competition
Not
for
a
me
competition,
to have the
exactly.
most trauma here. So we're just gonna keep going." So I really like that. I really like their conversation. It was kind of long, and it's really odd that these episodes are like, by the time we get past the recap, by the time we get past the opening segment and then the credits at the end, like we have a maybe 20-minute episode, but I feel like
Hmm.
these episodes are so long.
Hmm.
Like there's just so much
They're
in-depth stuff
dense.
here. Yeah, they're very dense.
Because like I was saying, they feel dense to me because everything that's happening is always to like move the plot forward
Yeah.
or give character, like flesh out the characters.
Mhm.
Something else that I really liked was the whole bit where after Fushi feeds Gugu and he's like back to, he's feeling fine again because he was super hungry. He asks Fushi all these questions and he's just really trying to like piece Fushi together. He's like, so what do you remember? He's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, so you probably turned into the first person who you met after you saw them die.
Mhm.
What is death? And it's just like, man, how do you even handle that conversation? He starts using his own terminology, and I thought that
Mhm.
was really a nice taste where he's like, when you see somebody turn hollow, as Fushi described it, and he starts to like elaborate on all these things. Then I also just love the bit where he's like, dang, if I die, I want you to turn into me, because it
Mhm.
means even though I'm gone, you are still thinking of me. I was just
You're
like,
still gonna remember me.
oh,
Yeah, it was a lot there.
oh.
Like you'll still, even if it's like there was a lot of peace there. And it was just like, bro, you are gonna die sometime, and I know it's coming because I know it's gonna be Goku next. Like I know, whatever. Um,
Oh.
Fushi finds a mask, and then they're sort of running away from the people that want to take Reen back to her castle, and his maker appears, the saying like the enemy is always around. Fushi distracts the lady that's trying to take Reen back, and then the woods monster grabs Fushi, and the maker was like, "This isn't going to be great," because he didn't acquire anything useful since the last battle,
Hmm.
and Fushi's form gets taken, as we see
His
in the end.
his march form.
His March form.
It's the first time it stole his we don't know the name of the boy. His human form, his
Yeah.
human boy form the first time.
So really quick, because we don't have a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
Next week is our last time we're going to be talking about this.
Yes.
We have 4 more episodes. Watch episode 10 through 13 of To Your Eternity to get in on the conversation. Give us your thoughts, and we're going to rank the anime. But I want to ask, what do you think is that other being? Like, what is this other being that is supposed to be the antithesis of Fushi and the orb? Is this made by another maker? Is this something within the world? Is it made by the
I
maker?
mean, yeah, like, the maker said, what did he say? Our job is to preserve balance or something like that.
Preserve this world.
Preserve this world. So whatever it is, it's some sort of power entity being that seeks to take the destroy the
Because
world.
right now it hasn't, as far as we know, as far as we see, hasn't attacked anybody else, hasn't attacked any humans, just sort of gone after
Fushi
yours.
specifically.
Oh, Claire said my money would be on failed orb attempt 1. Didn't think about that. That's pretty good. I like that. Maybe. Because it is taking forms.
No, my brain.
But did it die?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when he killed or destroyed the core the first time, like, is this another thing or is this the same thing?
Mhm.
Kind of like kind of like in The Incredibles, where Syndrome has his robots that like evolve. Is this like a new evolved version of that core? That, like, whatever. I'm serious. Like, is this like, the core got some sort of upgrade since its last fight, but Fushi did not, because Fushi won last time. So why wouldn't Fushi be able to, like, theoretically win again, even though he didn't like acquire anything new? He now knows this is a plant enemy that's has a
Has a
core at
core.
its center, and I need to destroy that core. So I
But then
feel like,
why?
he has that intel walking into the fight at least. So if the plant doesn't have anything new, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Cosmo said reincarnation. Claire says maybe many failed orbs. It's just interesting that the maker has the ability to make this orb being that is immortal in the world. So I'm assuming he is some sort of creator, god
He says,
sort
like,
of
yeah, I'm
thing.
your creator, but
But
he never says I'm the creator.
yeah, so like he helps the orb a little bit by saying like, hey, he has like he was kind of whispering to him during the first fight and sort of helping him out. But if he has these powers, why doesn't he just take out the enemy himself? Or is this just another learning thing for the orb?
I mean, at least if you go by D&D rules, gods aren't allowed to directly intervene in the realms of the mortals. They can only, like,
I
give
know.
their
Okay, yeah.
wisdom or advice.
But then wouldn't I agree with that. But he made the orb to get into the realm of the mortals. So isn't that automatically intervening by what the orb could become?
If
Because it has consciousness now.
Again, like, if he had said right away, if we had started off and, like, this is the orb that's going to help me preserve the world, and so that's why I'm casting it uh, down into the world. But I feel like the first episode kind of set up that it seemed more like just like an experiment, a curiosity. Like, he was just like, what happens if I take this orb and just kind of throw it down there? Let's see what happens. So I don't know. It just initially it seemed like there was no like real intention or finality behind why he was doing it. He was just very curious as to what would happen. But now it's like it's coming to a point where it seems like there's a greater purpose behind everything. And that's where I think I am a little confused, probably.
Maybe we are all orbs taking with us all the past memories of people we have met.
A
And
real to your eternity. Orbs, we.
fate or predestination. That's another. We don't have time for this.
That's
Matt,
so many.
when you're not pondering the orb, where can they find you on the internet?
If you'd like, you can follow me on my YouTube at Matt_Galley or on my socials. Just add an ITS at the front, make it it's Matt_Galley. Jules, when we're not here, trying to not dive into concepts greater than our understanding, where can the people find you?
You find me on YouTube, Jules the Human, at JULES the Human, on all social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, and all that stuff. Haven't been streaming, haven't been doing a whole lot of stuff. I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy, and it's like day 18 of me going to the gym every day, and it's going great, and I feel great. So that's what I've been doing. Catch me in my hotel gym, or not my hotel, my apartment gym. Consciousness versus subconsciousness. Oh my god. Yeah, there's a lot of see, that's what I'm saying. I want the show to be deep, but I don't know if they're going there with me. I would be really happy if it's get explained a little bit more, and I'm like, oh, okay, these are some good concepts here. Because like I don't want to be like looking at a painting of a banana and I'm just like, what did this person think about?
Well,
Because
yeah, well, it's like,
it's just a banana.
there's the concept of provoking the conversation and the concept of diving into the concept. So it's definitely provoking conversations around these certain subject matter, but it's not really diving into them because, again, we're here to experience it as a piece of media, a piece of entertainment, and to dive into the concepts and avoid the story and stuff. I feel like it would become very ethereal. And now, are we watching an anime or are we watching like a docu series on these types of, greater than life concepts, literally greater than life concepts? But I know
Whatever
what
it
you mean.
is, yeah, whatever it is, we're going to finish and we're going to talk about it for the last time. Next week, watch episode 10 through 13 of To Your Eternity, and we're going to rate it on our scale here. Where is it? It's going to be up there. I don't know where it's going to land. TBH. We're going to watch episode 10 through 13. Please watch it with us. I expect more splats.
Log.
Hopefully more logs. But yeah, that's been the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. See you logs in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.